This is the Season Long Podcast in support of the YouTube channel SeasonLongBaller. Hope you are having a wonderful day. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your week and you had a wonderful weekend. And we are back in effect, SeasonLongBaller. And as you know, the real NBA season is about to start. And we're going to start off with our new podcast of the season, our first one of the new season, with our usual one of our shoot-arounds. And it's taken me a while to settle on what I wanted to use as my jump shot, as my base and all that. We'll talk about that in just a second. But if you're new to the channel SeasonLongBaller, thank you. Welcome. And what we do here is we play the entire 82-game schedule of the Washington Wizards through our player build, number 4 here that we are shooting around with. 6'5" point guard out of William & Mary, Jaymont Summerz. Now, we've had a lot of success over the past couple of seasons. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. It's the ultimate career mode, as we have played the entire 82 games plus the playoffs for the last 2 seasons with the Wizards. Now, I know the Washington Wizards have been nowhere near the playoffs, but in our simulation, yes. Now, a lot of that is because of us. But the Washington Wizards in our simulation has been in the playoffs and 2-time defending champions. And again, a lot of that is because of, me. And our player build, of course, Jaymont Summerz. We were Rookie of the Year a couple years ago and MVP last season. Now, if you're not familiar with the story, here we go. So what we did is we introduced our player build and our entire Ultimate Career Mode on NBA 2K23. And on NBA 2K23, again, like the entire 82-game schedule. But that, if you don't remember, that is the class with Paolo Banchero and Chet Holmgren went number 2, and Jabari Smith to the Rockets went number 3. Now, in our player build, we couldn't make Jaymont Summerz better than Paolo Banchero because Paolo Banchero was the number 1 overall pick. So that wouldn't be fair, right? So Summerz, Banchero I think was a 79. So Summerz was a 78 with 2 badges. And we'll talk about badges a little bit later on as well. So that was how we started NBA 2K23. And we put Summerz on the Wizards because we wanted to play point guard. I mean, heck, we're playing the game. So the ball's going to be in our hands. We're in charge of the rock, right? But we're not going to displace someone like Steph Curry. So he can't be on the Warriors. And you don't want to put him on a team, as you've probably heard me say, the Charlotte Hornets and LaMelo Ball, like a young point guard. So what team a couple of seasons ago fit that? And one of those teams that didn't fit that, but that did not have either one of those 2 criterias was the Washington Wizards. The starting point guard at the time, Monte Morris, who is now, I think, the backup for the Phoenix Suns. And that's kind of ironic because last season's starter for the Wizards is the starter for the Phoenix Suns now in Tyus Jones. But Summerz, we made him the starting point guard and then Monte Morris the backup point guard. So that makes sense, right? Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis, that was your Wizards team on NBA 2K23, along with Rui Hachimura, who was eventually traded, as you know, Denny Avdia, Kyle Kuzma. That's part of that team. Now, on NBA 2K24, fast forward a season later, and we improved to an 84, and as the season went along, improved to an 85 overall, and increased our badges to 22 badges. And again, we'll talk about the badges in a bit as well. So, last season, obviously, Kristaps Porzingis is a member of the Boston Celtics. Bradley Beal is a member of the Phoenix Suns. Monte Morris, I think, went to the Timberwolves for a moment. Might have went with the Pistons for a second in there, too. But Tyus Jones was the starting point guard. But I don't think Tyus Jones was going to be the kind of guy that would displace, in our case here, Jaymont Summerz. Now, if the Wizards draft, say, a Scoot Henderson, a lot of people thought he'd be a super elite guard, and obviously he still can be. But if they draft some elite, like the next Chris Paul or something, then we're moving Summerz off of the Wizards. He'll just have to go to another team, and we'll see if that ever has to happen. But we'll see if that happens. So that brings us to NBA 2K25, where Jaymont Summerz is now a 90 overall, and the Wizards as a whole are a much better, well, I can't say a much better team, but you see that Wizards starting lineup now where Summerz is going to be at the 1. I think Jordan Poole is going to be the 2. We're going to solidify that lineup probably today, actually, and we'll talk about what that schedule is going to look like going forward. Kyle Kuzma, who's been the 4 the past couple seasons, but remember, Denny Avdia, who's been the 3 for a couple of seasons. Obviously, Rui Hachimura has been gone now with the Lakers, but Avdia traded in the offseason to the Trailblazers. Kuzma moves to the 3. Alex Sarr, who was the Wizards' number 2 overall draft pick in this past draft, he will move to the 4, and you're going to have Valanciunas starting at the 5, acquired as a free agent in the offseason. So I think that's what we might see when the Wizards start the season. If not, we'll make our adjustments. But I can assure you, probably 2 definite things. Summerz will be at the 1, and Kyle Kuzma will be at the 3 or the 4. Kyle will be in the starting lineup, and as it stands right now, Kuzma is the one guy who has been in the lineup with the Wizards the entire time that we have basically been doing this. So that's also interesting now because Bradley Beal's gone. Last season, DeLon Wright was the starting shooting guard for a moment there. Started in November. And we got, basically, you have the storyline of an entire season. For the Wizards last season, Daniel Gafford started at the center, which in real life he did at the season. But for us, he started at center. He was injured in mid-November in a game against the Mavericks for us in our simulation. And when that happened, Wes Unseld Jr., who is no longer with the organization, and I mean, it's kind of funny because in real life, if he won back-to-back titles, obviously he'd still be coaching with the Wizards. And now Brian Keefe is the coach of the Wizards. But Unseld Jr. made the move to bring DeLon Wright into the starting lineup while Daniel Gafford was out. And Wright remained the shooting guard. And in our simulation, basically the personnel moves are pretty much handled by the computer. So we let the computer kind of handle all of that kind of stuff. There's one exception. Towards the end of the season, right before the trade deadline, the Wizards were offered Alperen Şengün, the center of the Houston Rockets, for Corey Kispert. Now, that's a deal that I think you had to take. And that allowed Gafford to move to the backup center position. And again, in real life, he was traded, obviously, to the Mavericks. But in our simulation, he's not going to the Mavericks until the season is over, as we're operating independent of what the actual league does in that regard. So that led to I would think, a stronger Wizards lineup, gave the Wizards a little more quality size, and the Wizards will go ahead and go to the NBA Finals, the number 1 seed. Our player bill, we're the MVP. You can check out playlists. We've got playlists from season 1, regular season, and the playoffs, and for season 2 on NBA 2K24. So that brings us to NBA 2K25. But actually, before I talk about NBA 2K25, you can see a little bit of what we did here on NBA 2K23, where we went 66-16. We were the 1 seed. You see the Sixers were the 2 seed, Cavaliers were 3. And that played out with us going to the finals against the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant, and we defeated the Grizzlies 4-1. So that is how NBA 2K23 went along. And as you see, we are still getting our shoot on. And on NBA 2K23 and 2K24, Danny Green was our release. And one of the things that I had to change this season is that, well, I'm kind of worried that Danny Green, who just retired, is not going to be on NBA 2K26. I had gotten comfortable with that release. So I started searching for another release for Jaymont Summerz. I'd started with Danny Green, but I thought, well, it might be good to change him now where I can get kind of used to his release. So last season, it was the upper release of Danny Green, both upper 1 and upper 2 with the push release. And then the base was Kelvin Martin Jr. This season, the base, Kelvin Martin Jr., it wasn't comfortable for me. So I started looking all kinds of places. And for a while, if you check out our preseason games from this season, and thank you for everyone who checked out our preseason game yesterday. We've been taking on classic teams in our little preseason. We played 3 games, played the Supersonics last night. Thank you for joining us for that. But for a while there, we were going with Oscar Robertson as the release and Alex Caruso as the base. And again, Oscar Robertson 1 and 2 on, upper release 1 and upper release 2. But over the past week or so, went back to the lab, continued to work on this release, continued to try to get a feel for something, and we have settled on one. And you can tell just by this shoot around that I do feel a lot better with this shot. You may even recognize at least the release. And the release is Kobe Bryant. And I would dare to go out on a limb and say that I think Kobe Bryant's release will be on the game for the foreseeable future, right? So Kobe Bryant is release 1 and release 2. The animation blend is 7, and it is a push release. Now, what problem I can't say it's a problem, but what I have been thinking about has been, do I want to go with the push release or release? I seem to be releasing a little late for push, but then a little early on release. So that's where I've been kind of bouncing back and forth on the PlayStation 5, by the way, is the platform. So I've gone back and forth right now, settling on push. That's what we used last season. So I think we will stick with push. Might play around with it some more before the season starts, but that's what we are working with right now. So the base is Chris Mullin. Now, you could make the argument that Chris Mullin, a great shooter, maybe they will remove his base off the game, but I think I can deal with that. So that's what you have now. So upper release 1 and 2 with animation 7 is Kobe Bryant, and the base is Chris Mullin. And that's what we have been working on over the past week or so, trying to get all of this in order. So taking a look on NBA 2K24, we were 67-15. So we improved by a game last season. And as you see, the 2 seed were the New York Knicks, 3 were the Miami Heat. I actually don't think the Heat are going to be very, very good this season, but that's a whole nother conversation. Check out some of our live streams when we do the Shooting the Breeze, Shooting the Rock. We talk a lot of regular NBA along with what's going on in our season. And that's what we like to do on these podcasts, is we talk about what's going on in our season outside of what you will see when we're playing the Wizards, what other teams in our league are doing. That's what we like to do on our podcast. And every now and then do this, where we're just shooting around. So what happened last season? We ended up playing the Minnesota Timberwolves in the finals. The Timberwolves swept us during the season. As a matter of fact, embarrassed us in one of the games. But we managed to beat the Timberwolves 4-2, took a 3-0 lead back in June, and then managed to defeat the Wolves 4-2. And that brings us to this season, where now on NBA 2K25, we have the Wizards, and what I was saying with that lineup. We'll see how we do against the teams out west, but it should be a very fun challenge, and I'm actually looking forward to it. And the season starts this coming Thursday against the Boston Celtics, and that's going to be interesting. We'll talk about that as well in just a bit. But taking a look more at what we have with Jaymont Summerz now, as I mentioned earlier, an 85 when the season ended in June. And then with the player progression, Summerz is now a 90. And as I've said, it's the ultimate career mode. We've done the practice, and we've done the entire 82 games. It's the grind and the progress, as we have mentioned before on the channel. The ultimate career mode now, and we've grinded our way to this 90 overall. And as you see, it's 90, and Kyle Kuzma is the second best player on the team at an 83. Now, quick mention on the badges. You'll notice that there are 23 badges. When we went through the player build, and you will see that on the progression, and you would see that on Season Long Podcast number 66 back in July. When we went through that player build, Summerz finished the season with like 30 plus badges. Had the season last season, as you may have, I mentioned a moment ago, 22. But now we finished the season with 30 plus, but 2K25 has changed the badge system a little bit, and there aren't as many badges as there were. So what number do we go with for Jaymont Summerz? And we eventually, looking at some of the other stars around the league, looking at what we kind of progressed on, Summerz, we ended up with 23, may end up with 24. I think we'll settle here at 23. And you can take a look at those badges that we did acquire during, there are some differences. And there are some, like, we had Bulldozer on NBA 2K24, and now that is Physical Finisher, or that's somewhat of an equivalent. And that's what we tried to do, trying to go straight, ones that were 1-for-1, apples to apples comparisons. We tried to go with those. And then for NBA, on NBA 2K25, we tried to get the equivalent as much as possible, or as easy as possible. And now you can take a look at those 23 badges: Dimer, Ankle Assassin, Bailout, Handles for Days. Some of these Limitless Range we're gold in that, Unpluckable, Break Starter, Challenger, Deadeye, Float Game. We were good with the floater last season. Glove, Interceptor, Layup, Mixmasters. You see Lightning Launch, which was first step or something last season. Mini Marksman. There's Physical Finisher, which I mentioned. Set Shot Specialist was Claymore, I think was a good equivalent last season. Strong Handle. So some of these, as you can see, we kind of looked at as an equivalent. And then personality badges, Pat My Back, Work Ethic, and Alpha Dog, which I think makes a lot of sense for Jaymont Summerz, since he is the MVP of the Washington Wizards. And, well, he's basically the leader. Led the team in scoring, led the league in scoring, led the league in assists. And, of course, that means you led the league in assists as well. So what we've got going on here immediately for the season for the Wizards, and we'll take a quick look at the schedule here. So for the Wizards, we are opening, as I mentioned, against the Boston Celtics. Now, obviously, the Celtics are the defending champions in real life. So in our simulation, we're going to basically have the real champions against our simulation champions. Us against the Celtics at home the week before Halloween on October 24th. We will have the ring ceremony as well, and the banner ceremony, all of that on October 24th. Hope you join us for that one. And we will have that game, and that's when we will open our season. And we will follow that up on next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but of course this coming Saturday, October 26th, we will be taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that is your first two games of the season. You'll notice we have a back-to-back with the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks have always been an interesting challenge for us. We'll see how it goes this season with DeJounte Murray no longer a Hawk, but in New Orleans. So that should be interesting as well. And that's the first 4 games for the Wizards. And I am looking forward to that challenge. That should be a lot of fun. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for joining us for Season Long Podcast number 67, and our first podcast of season 3 here on Season Long Baller. And we're going to get out of here. I got to hit a few more jump shots, though. Never can leave on a missed shot. And, of course, right then, I missed. That's how that always goes. Let's see if we can get 2 in a row. There we go. That will get us out of here. Thank you very much for joining us for this Shooting Around Season Long Podcast number 67. See you on Thursday, opening night for the Wizards. Now, the actual NBA opening night is Tuesday. So tomorrow, actual opening night. I know the Celtics will be taking on the New York Knicks for the actual NBA opening night. It might be Lakers Timberwolves. Might be the second game for opening night, I believe. But that will be the opening night for the NBA. But for the Washington Wizards and for us, Season Long Baller here, it is going to be on Thursday, October 24th. Thank you very much for joining us. You have a wonderful rest of your day. See you later on in the week when the Wizards take on the Boston Celtics. Ring night. It's going to be a lot of fun. You have a great rest of your day. Season Long Baller appreciates you as always. And if you like what we do on the channel, please give us that like and subscribe. It is much appreciated. Peace.